folks. It is with great dissatisfaction that I tell you that this war in Israel and the Gaza Strip is the longest ever Israeli-Palestinian conflict of all time. Now, as today is October 7th, which means the 1-year mark of the Israel-Hamas war. 1 year ago since the Hamas attacked Israel, and then Israel responds and invades the Gaza Strip. And now, after a year, Israel has invaded the Gaza Strip, pulled out most of its troops, and then reinvaded it, and now is finally invading Lebanon as well because of Hezbollah. Who could have ever predicted this? For it to be going on still. Because we've never seen anything like it before. Now, let me clarify. I mean Israeli and Palestinian, which means Palestine, the countries of Palestine and the country of Israel. They both, I mean by that, not the Arabs and the Jewish. This has been going on for thousands of years. I do not mean those groups of people. I do not mean those ethnic groups. I mean the countries. And if you still consider Israel and Palestine as like going at it for thousands of years in modern terms, just put it at modern terms, okay? Now, in 1947, Palestine was actually called Mandatory Palestine and was owned by the British. But in 1948, it would be said for Mandatory Palestine to gain its independence. And 1948 is after World War II. So in 1947, Jewish militias, which are just like unofficial armies, invaded Mandatory Palestine to get away from Europe and all of that, so they can have their own little place and take back their holy land and home and promised land, right? They rose up against the Palestinians, right? Because the whole mandatory Palestine thing was coming to an end anyways. That started the 1947 Civil War in Mandatory Palestine, which started on November 30th, 1947, and ended on May 15th, 1948. So that whole thing went on for 5 months, until Mandatory Palestine gained independence on May 14th, 1948. Israel gained independence on May 14th, 1948. And then the day later, Mandatory Palestine formed into Palestine. So now, instead of being a civil war, it was now just a war between the countries of Palestine and Israel. And that went on for 9 months, until 1949, March of 1949. Now, if you count the two events as one whole thing, I wouldn't blame you. But I count it as separate things. So, if you count the 1947-1948 conflicts as two whole things, as like just one whole thing, then that means this will be the second longest Israeli-Palestinian war. But for me, this is the longest one ever. Now, the reason why I couldn't address this after the war surpassed 9 months is because, well, might as well make a video on the first anniversary of it. Kill 2 birds with 1 stone, or kill 2 stones with 1 bird, as I like to say. This war has dragged on for too long. I've looked at the statistics from 2014 and 2008, I believe, or 2007. I think it's 2007. But I've seen that they've only lasted for a couple months. Even the 6 Days War. Okay? And even the Yom Kippur War back in 1973. Those wars against Israel and Palestine and the Arab League, they all lasted like a month or a few weeks. And the others, and nowadays, a few months. So when this war started, I thought it will only last a few months after I figured it out 2 days later. Because I was on vacation. I was separated from I was isolated from the news. I didn't know what was happening. Literally, while in Israel, the Hamas attacked and killed a bunch of people in Israel, I was screenshotting memes on YouTube. So, in a tent, camping by myself, alone. So I was isolated from what was going on. And then I got back and I was like, so you're telling me I was gone for one weekend and a whole dang war started in the Middle East. There's no way. But then again, I wasn't surprised. It's the Middle East. But yeah, it's funny how on that weekend. So, here we are again. So much has happened. I thought it would be over by a few months. But we're still here. Still at it. 1 year later.